Hello, everybody. This is me again, making another chess video. So in the last couple of videos, I have been showing a couple of checkmates, but those are, theoretical checkmates. So in this video, I'm going to show a checkmate that actually happened in a recent game that I played on chess.com. Okay, so let me just pull up the game real quick, and we can go through it real quickly. Okay, so this is a game, hopefully you can see the screen well. This is a game that I played yesterday on chess.com against a player from Brazil. And this is a game, it's a pretty short game. It only lasts for 20 moves, and I was able to execute a couple of, I was able to execute a checkmate that I had learned in one of my in a couple of my chess games from earlier on, and I thought this is a good game to show because it's short, and also because the checkmate that you are about to see is actually something that that you will find in many textbooks on chess tactics. So it's kind of a textbook checkmate, if you will. All right. So in this game, is a blitz game. It's a very short game with short time controls. Both sides only have 10 minutes on their clock. It's a blitz game that I played against this guy from not Colombia, sorry, from Brazil, as I mentioned. As you can see from the screen, I have the white pieces, and my username is Siegfried23. And my opponent has the black pieces. And as you can see from the screen, my rating level is about 300 points above him. So it's not really an even match ratings-wise. So it's in a sense, it's not really a game to write home about. And at the same time, it's also a game with very short time controls with 10 minutes on each side. So in these blitz games, games with short controls, very often blunders are quite common. And also with such short time controls, it is very difficult for either side to have more than one or two simple plans. So in a blitz game like this, you will see that the goal is usually to just have one or two very simple plan and try to carry out that plan, despite the opposition from your opponent. But for this same reason, a blitz game is also a good place to show some classic textbook checkmates, because you have a very simple plan, and if it works, it usually works spectacularly, and if it fails, it also fails spectacularly. Okay, but in this case, fortunately for me, it worked out. Okay, so let's go through the first few moves of the game real quick. So I have the white pieces, and I open with d4, which is the queen pawn opening. Full disclosure, I'm actually a queen pawn player as opposed to a king pawn player. I don't really have the time to go into any explanation about what's the difference between a king pawn player and a queen pawn player. Maybe I will talk about it in a future video. But in the meantime, let's continue. So I open with d4. My opponent opens with e6. And then I respond with knight f3. A pretty boring opening so far. My opponent then responds with b6. I respond with e3, bishop b7. So he fianchettos his queen side bishop. And then I go with bishop d3. My opponent goes with bishop b4 check, which I respond with bishop d2, and then we trade off the bishops. So I decide to capture the bishop with my knight rather than my queen, because I want to develop my pieces as quickly as possible. Standard opening theory, you try in the beginning of the game, you try to deploy and develop your pieces as quickly as possible. And then my opponent responds at this point with bishop takes f3, and then I respond with knight takes f3, bring the knight into a central position. Another simple opening rule, which is that knights belong in the center of the board rather than away from the center. Okay, my opponent responds with knight e7. I'm not a big fan of that move. I'm not sure why he did that. and then I castle and he castle. The reason why I'm not a big fan of knight e7 is because I feel that the knight is kind of blocking the queen, and I think the knight probably would have been better off on knight f6. Okay, but I shouldn't. I'm not. I don't really want to comment too much on this. So I follow up with c4. My opponent follow up with knight bc6. I follow up with a3, and then d5. That's my opponent's move. I follow up with queen c2. Queen c2 and bishop d3 together is one of my favorite moves, because now you can see that the queen and the bishop together form a battery that is attacking h7, attacking the pawn on the edge of the board where the king is castled to. So basically, what I'm doing now is setting up an attack on the castled king. So the opponent's king looks safe right now, but maybe not for much longer. Anyway, my opponent follows up with d takes c4. He takes the pawn on c4, and instead of retaking with my bishop or my queen, I choose to take h7. Bishop takes h7 check, and he has no choice but to respond to this. So he moves his king to h8, and then I go on with knight g5. You can see that I'm already bringing as many of my pieces as I can to the king side, so that I can eventually overwhelm his king with superior firepower on my side. All right, and then he senses that trouble is brewing, so he brings his knight up to f5 to defend. Now, this is actually a very clever move on his part, because he is defending the king side with his knight. At the same time, he's also attacking my knight that is on g5 with his queen. So I want to keep my knight there, so I have to protect the knight, and I do that by h4. And then he goes with knight takes h4, so I lose a pawn. But it's okay. I bring up another pawn, f4, to defend the knight. And then he goes with knight takes d4. So he's willing to sacrifice that knight in order to bring his queen into the action. But I decide to just ignore this, to ignore his knight over here, and I bring my queen to f2. You can already see that now I'm attacking his knight that is on h4, and threatening to bring my queen even closer to his king, spelling more trouble for him. And then he responds with g4. Not g4, knight df5. He knows that there is trouble coming, so he brings more pieces to his king side to defend his king. I decide to chase the knight away with g4, and then his knight takes e3, attacking my rook. I decide to ignore the attack and instead go for his knight on h4. Queen takes h4, and hopefully you can already see that he's like probably only 2 moves away from checkmate. Well, he's either oblivious to my attack, or he just is maybe desperate enough to not want to do anything about it. So he goes with knight takes f1. He wins a rook, and then I go with bishop g8, discovered check. So his king has no choice. The only way for his king to get out of check is to take that bishop. So king takes g8, and then voila, queen h7 checkmate. And so that's the end of the game. It's only 20 moves, and you can see that as all of this started way back on move 11 with my queen c2, right? Bringing a battery to bear on that, bringing a battery to bear on that square, bringing a battery to bear on that square, which is h7, and then I brought more pieces to bear on the king side, and eventually I was able to launch a successful mating attack on the king, and the irony is that the king is surrounded by many of his major pieces, like his rook and his queen and everything, but they are quite helpless to do anything to save him. So you can see that this is an illustration not just of a checkmate, but also of how to attack a castle king. Okay, So that's all I have to say for right now. For right now in this video, I hope you find this to be helpful and illustrative and maybe fun. Okay, till next time. Bye.